Good morning and happy Wednesday. We are talking about the church. It comes out of Hebrews chapter 10, verse 23 and following. Let us hold fast the confession of our hope without wavering, for he who promised is faithful. And then it goes on and says, and let us consider how to stimulate one another to love and good deeds, not forsaking our own assembling together, as is the habit of some, but encouraging one another all the more as you see the day drawing near. So I have been talking about the church and our need to be committed to one another. The church is, it's got a corporate side and the church has got buildings, but that's not what the church is about. The church is about community, it's about people, and it's about a cause. And so I've said, look, in fact, the church doesn't have a mission statement. The mission of God has a church to carry out his mission. And so that's how we think about these things. That's how we've talked about these things. Yes, we've had mission statements in the 20 years I've been here. I changed it from some Puritan language to being a little bit more clear. The church's the mission is to proclaim the good news of the gospel, of the empty tomb of Jesus, his love, his grace extended to us, and it's to engage in good works. And with the Reach campaign, we tweaked it a bit, and we said we want to fuel a movement that is going to reach people and renew communities. We want to be about our church. We want to be about multiplying churches. We want to be about helping other churches, because the church is the engine to carry out the mission of God. So in the last couple of days, we've talked about the church and its various aspects, and I've noted that it's God's plan. Might not be my plan, but it's God's plan, and that it's going to prevail. And the gates of hell cannot withstand it. When Jesus asked the disciples who people said he was, and Peter has his confession, you are the Christ, you are the Messiah, the one everybody's been waiting for. He says, good job, Peter, you are spot on, and I'm going to build this church. Ecclesia is the Greek word. I'm going to build this movement, and it will prevail. The gates of hell will not be able to withstand its onslaught. And by the way, just a reminder, gates are not offensive weapons. So this is not about us trying to withstand the attacks of evil. This is about the church being on the offense and beating down, breaking down the gates, breaking open hell. This is about the church being a positive force. I've got a quote I ran across today in my prep, and I love it. It's out of I don't know who J.F. Powers is. It's from something he wrote, but it's a quote that Philip Yancey put in one of his books, and he says, "This is a big old ship, Bill." He's talking about the church, but not necessarily straight up. He says, "This is a big old ship, Bill. She creaks, she rocks, she rolls, and at times she makes you want to throw up, but she gets where she's going. Always has, always will, until the end of time, with or without you." Yes, that's the church. Look, it is a flawed group. There's times that it makes you want to throw up. As a college student, I remember waking up to the Inquisition and the Crusades and the church being slow on civil rights. It was very painful. As a pastor, I had a little crisis going on in my early years when I realized how often the church was failing to get the work done. How often we were failing people. Very disappointing. And Sherry said at one point, probably 2 years into our first ministry assignment as college pastors, and she said, I'm surrounded by Christians. I got to get out of it. I got to break out. And so she joined a co-ed soccer league, and I joined with her. I think I only got on the team because she was really good, and they had to take me as the weak link. But we got on this co-ed soccer team, and we were in our 30s, maybe mid to late 20s, perhaps. And the games were late on Friday nights. Like sometimes they didn't start until 11, and they could be a little rough. And I remember one time there was this younger woman on our team who just had a foul mouth. She was always trash talking others. And as the game was over, this guy from the other team was walking over to her, and he said, "You better zip that lip, or I'm gonna let you have it." And she sort of comes after him, and we get into there's this bench clearing, people siding up, and I sort of wrapped up this guy. I was behind him, and I sort of wrapped up this guy. I'm thinking, you can't punch her. And he's trying to throw me off. And anyway, I just remember laughing, like, what am I doing? I'm a pastor. I'm about to get in this big brawl. At the same time, I was loving it because I thought, this is a great reminder of what it's like outside of people who've made a commitment to Christ. Not always starting fights, but sometimes the only way you can stand the smell of the church inside the church is to get outside the church and to realize that it's worse. So I want to say there is a lot going for the church. It is a force for good. There's Atlas Shrugged is in the news a lot these days because there's a lot of people that want to break up the U.S. and the entrepreneurs are going to go their own way. That happens in Atlas Shrugged. I wish somebody would write Jesus Shrugged because the Church of Jesus Christ, without Jesus, this world would not look anything like what it does. It is the church that gave the worldview to the world that allowed for science to emerge. It is the church that pulled Europe out of the Dark Ages. It is the church that started hospitals and higher education and orphanages and all these things. It's not perfect. It's not at all. But if you want to be a Christ follower, you have to be committed to the church. Your involvement is required. It's expected and required. Have a good day.